Mr. Chairman, honorable members of the Council of State present, ministers of state and deputy ministers of state, your excellencies, members of the diplomatic corps, honorable members of parliament, our vice chancellor of the UDS, pro-vice chancellor of the UDS, our development partners, the chairman and CEO of the Northern Development Authority, CEOs and deputy CEOs of other institutions, our revered traditional rulers, queen mothers, honorable MMDCEs, representatives of various civil society organizations and NGOs, friends of the North, the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'm greatly honored to be invited to join you on this important occasion of the Maiden Northern Ghana Development Summit, also known in the past as the Mole Series, which is aimed at generating ideas on critical development issues concerning Northern Ghana. I wish to express my heartfelt gratitude to the organizers for the kind invitation and for the opportunity to share some thoughts with you. I bring you very warm greetings from the President of the Republic, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. His Excellency the President is happy to learn of the event with the resolution of one of the major impediments to the development of the North. That is the resolution of the Dagbon chieftaincy conflict. And this event is happening in this context. The government remains committed to helping solve other outstanding impediments to the development of Northern Ghana. Permit me first and foremost to commend the honorable regional ministers for the Northern, Upper East, Upper West, Savanna, and Northeast regions for this great collective initiative of assembling various stakeholders in the development of Northern Ghana under one roof to begin a conversation to chart a new path of development. This summit, in my opinion, marks yet another important milestone in the historic journey of Northern Ghana. The achievement of the summit objectives will significantly contribute to accelerating the socio-economic development of Northern Ghana. As a government, we are particularly grateful to our development partners who are here with us for your continuing interest in the development of the North. Of course, I should also mention Star Ghana and USAID for collaborating with the Regional Coordinating Council Ghana in the context of peace, security, and Ghana Beyond Aid. And this team is very apt. I sincerely thank the organizers for choosing this theme for this historic summit. In recent times, some parts of Northern Ghana have been in the news for the wrong reasons, with some areas recording various forms of conflict and insecurity. The recent one involving age-long neighbors, the Anofors and the Konkumbas, was very unfortunate and must be brought to an end sustainably. I call on all the parties to embrace peace for the sake of the progress and development of the area and of the North as a whole. This unfortunate state of affairs has not only affected the socio-economic development of the area, but has also impacted negatively on public service delivery. The resolve to reverse this negative situation, as demonstrated in the focus on peace and security in this summit by the leadership of the 5 regions, is therefore appropriate and timely. There could not have been a better time to refocus our attention on peace and security in the face of the development challenges in Northern Ghana. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, conflict is one of the major threats to peace and security in our communities and country. Lack of peace is a source of social uncertainty and instability which will slow down development. But creating peace and sustaining peace cannot be the work of government or the security services alone. It is the collective responsibility of us all. It is therefore disheartening that while well-meaning citizens are making strenuous efforts to sustain peace and security of the North, some are undermining those efforts. And I wish to call on our security agencies and the courts to let the perpetrators of the various heinous activities that threaten the peace of not only northern Ghana but the country as a whole face the full rigors of the law. We must appreciate the value of peace and the security in socio-economic development and the heavy price we have paid as a people from the various conflicts. I'll charge you, ladies and gentlemen, to consider this maiden summit as first a time for stock-taking and an assessment of our progress in the context of peace and security. Second, a period for building peace and unity amongst the people of northern Ghana. And third, an opportunity to provide perspectives for harnessing the investment potential in the various sectors of the economy of northern Ghana. Fourth, we should see the summit as a platform to examine the crucial development challenges facing northern Ghana and to provide the best way forward. Finally, and most importantly, let's use the summit to internalize the aspirations of the government, whose overriding policies center on social development, active private-public sector engagement, human resource development, value-added industrialization, good governance, and so on, if we are to build the Ghana we want, which is a Ghana beyond aid. The call for a Ghana beyond aid is a call for intensifying and mobilizing our own resources through taxation for our development, because we cannot rely forever on others to help us pay the cost for education, healthcare, water, sanitation, and the cost of maintaining our internal security and law and order. We should see the call for Ghana beyond aid as a call for transforming our raw material production for export from raw material to export-driven economies and based on manufacturing and high-value services. We should see it as an economy that provides opportunities, jobs, and prosperity to all Ghanaians. Of course, Ghana beyond aid is an ambitious call on all of us, citizens of the North and of Ghana in general, to reflect and foster togetherness to secure our future as a great nation. The issue of northern development is an issue that has been with us since independence and before independence. And there are many here who are practitioners and students of northern development history who are very familiar with what we have been through. We are the poorest regions of the country, but 62 years after independence, the situation doesn't seem to have dramatically changed. The recent UNDP Northern Ghana Human Development Report, which is 2018, made a key finding. That is, as recent as 2014, the National Human Development Index for the country stood at 0.575 on average, 0.575. Unfortunately, Northern Ghana as a region had a Human Development Index of 0.116. This centers on health, education, and living standards. So whereas Ghana as a whole had an average of 0.575, Northern Ghana had an index of 0.116. Other development indicators in the report are more worrying, and I trust you will be delving more into some of them as you discuss the issues in the course of the summit. It is important that we give prominence to our current state in education, health, and living standards. A combination of poor quality education, healthcare challenges, youth unemployment, chieftaincy and land emerging disputes, low energy access, low ICT penetration, and data gap, gender inequality, and overdependence on rain-fed agriculture all represent major bottlenecks to the speedy socioeconomic development of northern Ghana. Whereas the Greater Accra region, according to the Ministry of Health 2015 report, has a doctor-patient ratio of 1 doctor to 3,540, the Upper East region has 1 doctor to 32,285. The Upper West region has 1 doctor to 36,048. And the Northern region has 1 doctor to 23,759. In the 2016 Mathematics and Efficiency and English Proficiency Test, Education, it is reported that students in the Greater Accra region scored more than 4 times what their counterparts in the Northern region did in mathematics, and more than 3 times what their counterparts in Northern Ghana scored in English. We can go on and on, but the critical thing is not to continue lamenting on these statistics. Rather, we should focus on what we can do to tap the numerous potentials that we have. Mr. Chairman, I am convinced beyond doubt that the existence of a modernized agriculture, thriving businesses along with solid infrastructure in health, education, roads, energy, and industrial sectors in Ghana hold the key to the socio-economic transformation and sustainable development of northern Ghana. These are our pathways to create jobs for people, facilitate income generation, reduce poverty, and promote sustainable growth. The North is a paradox. It is very rich in resources, as we have in many places across the country. Yet it is very poor. It comprises about 1/3 of the land mass of Ghana. 1/3, which means that agriculture should be the natural breadbasket for Ghana. Yet it is very poor in terms of income. This is a land rich in land, fertile land, a land that is actually quite rich in natural resources. The mineral resources of the North are only beginning to be understood, and they are vast. The lack, so why has the North continued to be poor, notwithstanding all this potential we talk about? Of course, the North has come late to education. That is really at the core of what we have seen over the years. We've come late to education. Colonial policy, as a matter of policy, wanted the North to be essentially the hewers of wood and the drawers of water in the nature of the colonial administration. So, lateness to education, and we all know the impact of education on development, not only within a household, but within a community, a region, and a country. That data is clearly empirically proven. And so education is clearly the case. There is also the case of a lack of attention or focus by government on the priorities in developing northern Ghana. There's actually been an abdication of governmental responsibility over the years. And this has resulted over the years in an unequal distribution of resources between the North and the South, and we've created this gap that we have to bridge. We've seen many attempts, of course, try to deal with this inequality that we see from various government programs that deal with northern development. By and large, these programs have not been successful. But at the heart of this is that you need a commitment, political commitment, which is backed by financial commitment to drive a lot of these programs. If you don't have that commitment, then you will have a lot of high-sounding rhetoric, and you will not see changes on the ground. And this is, I think, part of what we have been witnessing over the years. So what we need, and I must at this juncture really commend and thank our development partners, the NGOs, civil society organizations that have all these years stayed with the North. They've really brought in their resources and have made a big difference in many, many parts. And I say a big ayiko to all of you. It's been quite remarkable, and I think some of it has to be documented because it's in very disparate areas, and you don't see the full picture. But they've done quite a lot because government has not been, and they've had to come and fill in that space. But we need to move ultimately, as we say. They will not be able to do this forever. We need, as far as government policy is concerned, to move towards inclusive transformation. That is to make sure nobody is left behind in the development of the country, and to make sure there is equitable distribution of resources in the management of the economy. Since we've been in office for the last 2 years and 4 months or so, we've been focusing on a number of priorities. As I said, agriculture is the key. If you had to do one thing beyond education, it's got to be agriculture. It definitely does hold the key for development in the North, and I must say in Ghana as a whole. And so over the last 2 years, we've been implementing the Planting for Food and Jobs policy that provides subsidized fertilizers, seeds, and extension services to farmers. And we are seeing that it is having an impact. Village after village that I visit, the farmers express a lot of thanks for being able to access fertilizer. And we are also seeing the impact on output, that the production levels have increased. And over the last 2 years, you've seen growth in agriculture increase from about 2.9% in 2016 to 6.8% last year, and this year we're targeting 7.4% growth in agriculture. And we think it has got a large part to do with access to fertilizer, better seeds, and extension services. One of the areas that we are also addressing, and which should be done very soon, because is access to equipment, agricultural equipment. There's a major bottleneck in many of our villages, and where the farming is the major activity. Many farmers cannot afford to buy a tractor, but they are in need of tractor services. And so we've decided, as we promised, that we are going to establish mechanization centers so that you can have the equipment in the centers which can then be accessed. And we want to do this with the private sector so that there is better management of that equipment. So far, we have concluded, and this is going to be done, inshallah, this year. We've concluded our negotiation on this particular program with the Indian Exim Bank, and $150 million worth of equipment has been ordered to come into Ghana to help us set up the mechanization centers. And we believe that this will really help in progressing agricultural growth in northern Ghana. The Tree Crop Development Authority is going to be set up. A bill is going to Parliament where we have trees like the shea nut and cashews and so on will come under one authority, and it will be managed the way that we are managing cocoa. We are going to focus the management. Quite frankly, the value of shea is more than the value of cocoa on the world market, isn't it? It is. But why are we not paying that attention to shea? It is very valuable and can be used in many, many products. But we believe that if we bring the tree crops under one authority, and we should be able to do that. There's a lot of potential. There's a lot of research in the area that we should also tap into, which is going as far as domesticating the cultivation of shea is a major issue, and there's good research that is taking place that we should take advantage of. Water is a major area. As you know, we have major challenges, but we're depending on rain-fed agriculture. But we really need irrigation, so that, you've not really seen any country where you've had major agricultural transformation without irrigation, because you need water. And not only do you need water at the right time, so that you need to be able to control. The Ghana Irrigation Development Authority was set up in 1977, and the amount of irrigable land that has been government financed from between 1977 to date is just 12,980 acres. Right? That is very insufficient for what we need to do. And this is why we are focusing on two major projects. One is the phase 2 of the Bui Dam project, which is for irrigation. But the other, which I think is the most important for our generation, is the construction of the multi-purpose Pualugu Dam. The multi-purpose Pualugu Dam has many, many uses. In particular, first of all, it will help us deal with the floods every year from the spillage of the Bagri Dam, which we suffer loss of life and property from. It will help us irrigate large tracts of land for the cultivation of rice and sugar in particular, and as well as other commodities. Major change. And then we have hydroelectric power. This is a project that will cost about $750 million. But it is worth it for this country, for us to invest in it. So we have quite far advanced now as far as the launch of this project is concerned. And we hope to resolve the financing issues this year. And my push is for us to be able to cut the sword before the end of this year for the Pualugu Dam. And let's hope that can materialize. But we are moving. It's a real major project, and we should do it. But if once we do Bui and Pualugu, we are going to bring 60,000 hectares under irrigation, just between these two. As I told you, between 77 and now, we've had 12,980. Now, just these two will bring 60,000. We're almost five-fold increase in the irrigation space, and that can really bring us a lot of productivity in agriculture. So let's focus on this. Let's make this happen. We have a team working very hard on it. There are a lot of people. Charles Abugri, for example, is very always reminds us about this project. It's a key project for the North, and let's all work and try to bring it to fruition. The other area beyond agriculture, so the irrigation, we are looking at the large-scale irrigation, and of course we are looking at the small dams that we are also building, the One Village, One Dam projects that will provide some respite to farmers in the dry season. We're trying to construct over 500 of these dams. And I would like to direct the development authorities. Of course, we've heard that some of the dams have been done shoddily. Of course, you can't pay them. Number one, you can't pay the contractors. If they've done a shoddy job, you should fire them and bring in new contractors. And that is just that simple. When you're doing over 500 of these dams, you're bound to have some of these problems, that some may not be done properly. For example, I was in the Upper East last week, and then I had a briefing. They have about 50 dams or so, but 2 were not done properly, and so they have to be redone. But you are bound to see some of these challenges happening. But the development authorities must move quickly to ensure that the designs are followed, and if they are not followed, the contractors are not paid, we should be cancelled, and new contractors brought on board so that we can do this work for the benefit of our country. Then the other issue in terms of our development spaces is education, as I said. Education has been a real problem as far as northern development is concerned. What we are doing through the launch of the free SHS is trying to make sure everybody is included, this whole issue of inclusive transformation. And I believe, and I've believed right before we came into office, that the free SHS is more beneficial to northern Ghana than anywhere else in the country. And a lot of people misunderstood that there is already free education in the north. Actually, that is not the case. That there are certain fees that still have to be paid. And that 5 cedi, 10 cedi, 20 cedi fee could prevent a child from going to school. And it prevented a lot of children from going to school. And I know for many of you here, we used to get a lot of school fees requests 2 years ago. And I have been saved a little bit. And I'm sure a lot of you have been saved a little bit. Yes, because you have to support as much as you can. But now the free SHS is helping. And every village that I have been to, it is very clear that it is helping. Of course, we have to support that with also the technical and vocational institutions. And the inclusiveness, when we were in cabinet last week, the issue of the technical and vocational institutions came up. It was very interesting because we initially had promised to build 10 model TVETs in the country. At the time we made a promise, we only had 10 regions. And now, so we got funding for 10. But now we have 16 regions. So we have to get funding for an additional 6. So the president, and he's just so committed to these things. The president said that, well, in this case, the first 10 will start, the first 6 should be the new regions. And the other 4 should cover all of the northern regions. And then we'll look for the 6 for the south. So we have funding for the 10. We will do the new regions. We have 3 other all from here, and then we'll do one other. But that is the thinking, that you have to be more inclusive. And you have to allocate resources to the areas that are more deprived. And that is essentially what we are doing. The other day, we did an examination, and this is really why we thought that development authorities should be established, and we established the development authorities. But interestingly, when we did a first review of the projects of the development authorities so far, more than half the projects seem to be in the northern regions. I think that is what you saw so far. And it just tells you, he's been very, very clear in that. And so we are moving in this direction. Industrialization is very, very key for development in the northern region. We have a lot of resources. We have cement resources, limestone, we have clay, we have iron and steel, we have all of that. And so the One District, One Factory initiative, again, is an initiative that says don't exclude anybody. I mean, you have to understand what is driving the policy framework. It's a policy framework of inclusion. And this is why you hear one this, one that. Because when it wasn't the case, some people were forgotten about. But now, as a policy, you say one district, one factory. So we will ask, where are the factories in these districts that have not been mentioned? So you want to ingrain inclusion in the policy framework. And so the One District, One Factory, we are hoping that it provides incentives to the private sector to set up factories in many of our regions. When recently we did the Bauxite Authority bill to to basically get our integrated bauxite and aluminum industry developed, the President also directed that what we have done for the bauxite, we should do exactly the same for the iron and steel, so that we can have an industry in the north, which is going to be based in the north, so that we can have an industry in the north, an iron and steel industry that will be comparable to the bauxite industry, so that we have two major integrated industries, one for iron and steel, one for bauxite and aluminum, that will drive the industrialization process in both the north and the south. So we have passed the Ghana Integrated Iron and Steel Bill. It has passed Parliament, and so we now Yendi and Gushegu have to fight for where the factory will be set. The board will be set up soon. It's going to be a major industry, but if you're going to move in this country, you need iron and steel. And it is because of that we are moving to limit the export of manganese from Ghana, because we need that manganese with the iron to provide the steel. So we are doing the iron and steel, and that is going to be, as I said, between Yendi, using the Shani reserves between Yendi and Gushegu. You guys will battle it out. Of course, we have cement and so on. But one of the things that has not really been spoken about is the northern Ghana's oil resources. As all of you know, there is a major discovery of oil in northern Ghana. I'm talking major. And it's onshore, it's inland, not in the sea, since the sea is not here. And so in the not too distant future, it's going to be an oil producing region. The Voltaigne Basin. The Voltaigne Basin, about almost half the north, has oil. And so we will have the challenges of any oil producing region soon. But it has to be managed properly. But it's a major resource that is coming up. And we believe from all the initial seismic data that we have seen, that the potential is actually quite huge. There's something about our government that keeps discovering oil. We have major projects that we believe have to be done. And I must say that the Volta Lake project that the CEO talked about is one that we are working on. We want a lake transportation between Akosombo and the north. We are having the Volta River Authority and the Ministry of Transport. They are looking at this. And if all goes well, the project will start, inshallah, also this year. Yeah. It will help us a lot because you will do a container terminal that will take goods in and out. And here is private sector. We are not looking, the private sector has an incentive. So it will save us a lot of money and all of that. But there will be a joint operation between the private sector and VRA. So we are working very much on that. The discussions, not the discussions, but the bidding documents for the Accra-Paga Railway are also it's also going on now. We would like to see that rail line come through between Accra and Paga. The Burkina authorities want it between Accra and Burkina, so there's a joint work now going on between Ghana and Burkina, because ideally we want to select the same contractor so that we can have the specifications across Ghana and Burkina done very, very well. So it's very important. Under the Sino-Hydro program, we expect some major roads in the northern regions, the 5 northern regions, to be done. The Wahant, Hamile, Wulugu, Wiase, the Bunkurugu, Nalergo, Salaga, Bimbila, Tamale, Salaga. There are quite a few roads that we've been struggling with many, many years, and we are hoping that we can get the Sino-Hydro to a facility to do these roads, and that will really help us in the infrastructure area. If all goes well, we should come next month to commission the airport terminal in Tamale, a new airport terminal in Tamale. It will help us to do this. So the infrastructure side, we are trying so much to help, with the help of the private sector, to bridge the gap, to focus on the industrialization of Ghana and so on. We're doing so much in that area, and we hope that we can do a lot more and not just talk about bridging the gap between the north and the south. You have in Nana Akufo-Addo a president who really is politically committed to bridging the gap between the north and the south. Very, very committed in his mind.